Hi everyone, welcome to today's session that is on data types and variables, type conversion, and casting. In the last video, you learned that Python has three numeric types: int, float, and complex. But here's the problem: every programmer eventually hits. The data you are working with isn't always in the type you need it to be. A number arrives as a text. A float needs to become a whole number. A calculation result needs to be embedded in a sentence. That's exactly what today's video solves. Type conversion, also called casting, is how you deliberately change a value from one data type to another. We are going to cover converting to int, float, and string, that is str, and along the way discover one behavior that surprises almost every beginner the first time they see it. So let's get into it. Now, what is type conversion? What is type conversion? As you can see, there are two kinds. There are two kinds. The first kind is the implicit conversion, where Python automatically converts one type to another without you asking. And you saw this in the last video or videos when you added an int and a float together and got a float back. Python handled that silently behind the scenes. This second kind is explicit conversion, which is also called as casting, where you deliberately tell Python to convert a value from one type to another using a function. And that's what this entire video is about. Let's go towards the next screen. Yeah. So we have implicit and we have explicit. Okay. Now, the three casting functions that we are going to cover today is int, float, and str, that is string. Each one, each one over here takes a value, tries to convert it to that type, and either succeeds and gives you the converted value or fails and gives you an error. So first let's start with int. Let's start with int. Now this int function, it converts a value into an integer, a whole number. Now let me give you three scenarios over here for int, right? Um, and these are the most common scenarios. Scenario one is converting from a string. Okay, you have a string and you are converting this into int. Second scenario is you have a float and you are converting this into int. Third, 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 third scenario is what happens when the conversion simply doesn't work. Okay, let me show you this all with the help of an example over here. Let me open my VS Code. Mm, type underscore dot ipynb. Let's submit a file. Now here, as we are doing the converting to int. Okay, so first is we are converting a string into int. We are converting a string to int. Suppose age underscore text is string 25. Anything in between quotes is a string. We type print. I used print type and age underscore text. Then give a new variable name that is age underscore number and change this age underscore text into an int type. Print age number, then printing the type of this variable. Let's see what happens. Now the first one over here, as you can see, is class str. It is talking about this, that this is a string. And then we converted this string into int. Okay. And then we got 25 as an integer. Then I try, then I printed the type of this particular variable and I got int. So we have converted string into integer. So this string 25 became the integer 25. The type changed from str to int, and now we can do arithmetic with it. Okay. Okay. Now let's check converting a float to int. Converting a float to int. The truncation behavior. Suppose decimal number is equal to 3.9. Whole number equals to int decimal number. Okay. So decimal number is a float. The decimal number variable has a value that is in decimals, that is in float. Now I'm converting this into int. Now printing the whole number and then printing the type of this whole number variable. Now this int 3.9, this int 3.9 gives us 3, not 4. Here Python did not round the number, it truncated it, meaning it simply cut off everything after the decimal point and kept only the whole number apart. Okay, let's make absolutely sure that this is clear over here by trying some more examples. Print int 3.1, print int 3.5, print int 3.9, print int minus 3.9. Let's see what happens. So 333. All three positive floats become 3, regardless of whether the decimal part is small or large. This is not rounding 3.9. I mean to say this 3.9 is not becoming 4 over here. And this int minus 3.9 gives minus 3, not minus 4. Again, truncation towards 0, not rounding towards nearest integer. So keep this rule logged in. Int always truncates towards 0. Int always truncates toward 0. It never rounds. Okay. Now let's check what happens when the conversion fails. When the conversion fails. Suppose I have int hello result. Okay. Result. Okay. Now I have this value error. Invalid literal for int with base 10 hello. So a value error. Why? Because hello has no numeric meaning. So int has no idea what integer to produce. And int can only convert strings that actually contain a valid whole numbers. If you try to convert anything else, and Python will tell you immediately with this error. Okay, you'll come to know what I'm talking about. Now, the next is we will try to convert these into float. Again, going with the three scenarios over here. Okay, from string, we are going to convert into float, from int, and third, and a failure case. Okay, but first, let's do converting a string to float. Okay, now suppose price underscore text is equal to price underscore text is equal to 3.14. Right, I'm going to get print type price text. Okay, then I'm going to change this price underscore text that is in string into float, that is price underscore text. Right, print price underscore number and print its type number. Let's see what happens over here. Now the string 3.14 became the float 3.14. Same pattern as int. A string that looks like a number gets converted into actual numeric type. Okay. It, yeah, it gets converted into actual numeric type over here. Now, converting an int to float. This is my second example, and this is my first. Converting int, converting an int to float. Okay. Suppose whole is equal to 10, decimal is equal to float whole. Okay. Then print decimal. Okay. Now I'm converting n to a float, so that's why I put float type over here. Now printing the type decimal. Now over here, this 10 becomes 10.0. The value didn't change, but the type did. It's now a float with a decimal point. Now this matters when you need guaranteed float behavior in arithmetic. For example, making sure a division operation is treated as float division from the start. Okay. Now, string with a whole number and decimal numbers converted to float. String with a whole number and decimals converted to float. Let me tell you what I mean over here. Print float 5, print float 3.14. These are strings. Print float minus 2.7. That's what happens over here. Now all three work correctly. Float handles whole number strings, decimal strings, and negative decimal strings equally. Okay, so float handles whole number strings, decimal strings, and negative decimal strings equally. Okay, now let's look at the failure case once again in terms of float. Result is equal to float hello. So value error, could not convert string to float. Okay, could not convert a string to float. So again, same pattern as int. If the string doesn't represent a valid number, float raises value error. The error message is even more descriptive over here. If you see, error message is even more descriptive. Could not convert string to float. Python is telling you exactly what went wrong and why. Okay. Now converting to str. Converting to str or converting int to string. Okay. Suppose age is equal to 25. Okay. Now age underscore text. I'll convert this into string, right? Print age underscore text. Print type age underscore text. Okay. Now I'm printing the type of it as well. So earlier it was integer. Now as we have changed it, it is a string. That is str. So same digits, but now it is a string. Okay. And the type confirms it. The type confirms it. Okay. Now converting float to a string. Okay. Suppose price is 19.99. Price underscore text is str price. Okay. I'm converting it into a string. Price print price underscore text and print type price underscore text. Again str. Again str. Now let's see why this matters in practice. You know, combining numbers and strings. Suppose score is equal to 95. Message your score is this is a string over here plus out of 100 out of 100 or I can let's see this works or not. Print message. Okay. Mm, yeah, it is working now. I just had it out. So without this str score, string score, Python would follow Python would throw a type error. Okay. Python would throw a type error. Let me show you. Okay, yeah, type error. So it has showed the type error. So Python would throw a type error. You can't concatenate a string and integer directly using a plus. Now this is an integer, this is a string. So you can't concatenate the string and the integer like this. So you have to wrap it in str. Okay, like we have done, wrapping the score with str. Okay, and then it converts it to text first and then making the concatenation valid. Okay, right. So this is an error and this is the fix. Okay, the fix is always the same. Wrap the number in str to convert it before joining it with text, and you got your score is 95 out of 100. Okay, now let's do one thing. Let's mix them all together. Okay, means like write one complete program that uses all three casting functions together, like a realistic scenario that pulls everything into one place. Okay, suppose I have item underscore name, which is equal to laptop, item underscore price, which is 99999, and then item underscore quantity, which is 3, string 3. And now I want price, and I will convert item underscore price into float. Then I want quantity, which I'm going to convert, which I supposed item underscore quantity as string. Okay. Now I'm going to calculate the total. That is price into quantity. Okay. Now I want to print the output using str. Okay. Item, again, item name. Now here, item underscore name, I won't convert this into string because it is already a string. But for others like price per unit, suppose dollar, plus str, I'm converting that price back again to string because we have to concatenate. Okay, string has to be with string. Then quantity plus str and quantity, and print total, that is in dollars, plus str total. Okay, so three values, three values started as strings. The way data often arrives from files, user input, or web requests, converted into the types we actually need for arithmetic, then converted back to strings for clean output. The full round trip, string, numeric type, arithmetic, and then again string for display. Okay, I mean to say string, then numeric type, then arithmetic, and then back again to string for display. Okay, there. Let's see. Right. So let's lock in what we have learned today. Like, what are the key takeaways? Okay, key takeaways are type conversion. Key takeaways are, yeah, key takeaways are, yeah, key takeaways are type conversion, also called casting. Okay, that is how you deliberately change a value from one data type to another. Okay, over here, int converts to a whole number, and when converting from a float, it always truncates towards zero. Always truncates toward zero. Okay, never rounds. Then float, that is converts to a decimal number, including from integers and numeric strings. Then str converts to text, useful whenever you need to join a number into a string using concatenation. And then all three functions will raise a value error if you pass them something that genuinely cannot be converted. And the Python's error message will tell you exactly what failed and why. Now, your action step for this video, what I want you to do. Now, you have to write a program that asks the user for, let me, okay. Now, you have to write a program that asks the user for, that asks a user for a product name, okay, its price as a decimal. Let me write it over here. Its price as a decimal, okay, and a quantity all using the this input function, all using the input function. Now cast the price to float and the quantity to int. Okay, cast this price to float and this quantity to int. Calculate the total. Calculate the total and print a formatted receipt using str. Str for what? For concatenation. Okay. Now you have every tool you need. You have every tool you need. So you have to do this. In the next video, we will get into booleans and truthfully, falsely, falsy values. Truthfully, falsy values. Okay. So see you there. See you there. Till that time, happy learning.